Hi guys, welcome back. Speak Up Monday here at Tropical Nomad. Every Monday, 6:30 sharp, right? So today is quite interesting because we've reached episode number 200. So yes, episode 200. There you go. But the thing is this, right? So it's been 3 years. And we started off in life in Bali, which is here in Tamora Gallery, over there actually in Brawa. And it was, again, great thing. But the thing was this. We started in a space that was 50-something square meters. Mm-hmm. And I think we got up to about 100 people crammed into there at any one point in time. But here's the thing. So Speak Up Monday started because 3 friends of mine in the hospitality industry in Sydney looked good, smelled good, had the wife, had the kids, had the whole kit and caboodle. No one realized that they were suffering from something, and to cut a long story short, they all took their own lives within 1 year, and no one saw it coming. So Speak Up Monday, where the fundamental essence of it is about inspiration, because on a day when people are taking their lives, you want to put or drop a pebble in still water and the ripples affect the whole. These are positive ripples, right, of positive intention. So this is where Speak Up Monday started, and what makes tonight quite special is that Adrian was one of the first ones to come. Back then, when we were there in life in Bali, when there was Morton and all of these, maybe 30 of those 200 speakers, came from that time. Mm-hmm. So it's really cool to kind of have you here, being a person who is a philanthropist, a person who's been in Bali with your family, all 4 kids, for X amount of time, like a long time. But what I love about you is that you have this way about you of wanting to help, wanting to be of service to other people. And for me, that's extremely inspiring, because inspiration is caught, not necessarily taught, right? So we'll come back to it in a second. So for those of you who maybe haven't seen me before, my name is Robert Ian Bonnick. I'm the tourism architect. So what is it I actually do? Tourism architect? What does that mean? So what it means is I work with tourism boards and operators here in Bali to generate more inbound tourism. As we know here in Bali, tourism isn't the same as what it was before. There's a different dimension now. That dimension is in startups, it's in tech, sustainability, incubators, accelerators, and this is what I specialize in bringing, and also it goes both ways. So look, Adrian, again, philanthropist is one way to describe you. Now, if I would say, Adrian, how would you describe yourself in one sentence? What would come up for you?
Wow, that's a great question. Firstly, thanks again, Rob, for having me here. It's a real honor to be here on the 200th Speak Up Monday. In answer to that question, one sentence, I guess, I describe myself as an impact entrepreneur, meaning that I'm always trying to solve problems in the business world that helps to make the world a better place. That's a very, very short summary. Of course, we can unpack that during the course of this talk.
It's a brilliant summary. Brilliant. So now, where do things start for you? Because looking at you now, I get this handsome guy with something mixed going on. So what is your parentage? Where were you born? What were your parents? Where are they from?
Yeah, always a good question, that one. So I was born in Singapore. But I like to joke that that was a result of a lottery of birth. My parents are not from Singapore. Singapore's a very diverse place. My dad's British, my mom's Malaysian, and they were there. Entrepreneurs at the time. So I was born there, number 5 of 7 kids, and then. Spent early years in Singapore. Then we moved to Australia, Perth, WA, and loved it there. And it was a great place to grow up, and a great place to grow old as well. But in between, it really is a good idea to get out of Perth. I mean, no offense, friends and family in Perth. Love you all, but you got to explore. Perth is pretty isolated as they call it a city. I see it more as a big town, but continuing that story after high school in Perth. I had the itch. A lot of my friends had very exotic accents from, Scotland, Croatia, different parts of Asia, and felt like, okay, it's time to go explore. And the timing was also, it was also right for me to head back to Singapore and make a decision around doing the national service there. And at the time, I really didn't have a clue in terms of what I was going to do. I qualified to go to university, but I chose like ridiculous subjects that I had no interest in. Just to just to fill in the forms, I chose, I think things like astrophysics and philosophy, like completely diverse, because I just didn't have a clue. I was choosing university options that had the best rugby teams. So when my dad said, hey, if you do the national service in Singapore, you get to, you keep your nationality. And I thought, okay, that sounds pretty cool. This is a small nation surrounded by potentially hostile states. Potentially I get to learn to ride a tank, fly a jet plane. I thought, that's pretty cool. And I'll get fit and improve my fitness for rugby, and then go back and play rugby professionally. So,
but you know what though, 1 of 7, right? So I just want to hang out with that a minute. 1 of 7 kids. So like, of the people with you, right? Which kind of qualities did you have that maybe your other 6 siblings didn't have?
Wow, it's a long list, I think.
We go deep, brother. We go deep.
I have to tread carefully here if my brothers are watching. I love you guys. Actually, so let me give credit to my brothers. I mean, they all inspire me in one way or another. So I got 5 brothers and 1 sister.
Yeah.
And so when my son was born, and I will come back to that question. So my son, his name's Finley, middle name Quentin, and Quint I think refers to Latin 5. So I couldn't choose which brother to sort of be inspired. So I chose 5 because 5 brothers, so 5 Quentin. So tribute to you, brothers.
Got it.
That's right. So what qualities do I have that they don't? I guess I always enjoyed being like the underdog and supporting people on the fringe, and probably less materialistic than the rest of them. We're all equally, competitive, but I think, my quality is I tend to want to support people a lot more than not just my brothers, but I think most people in general, and which is actually why I felt very much at home in Bali, because a lot of people here have the same mindset, like yourself, Rob. We want to do good for ourselves, for our family, but we also want to, support other people in the community. So I think that part of me that always trying to make things better in the workplace, in the community, that probably stands out more for me.
So then why do you think you like that? Because I get that about you, right? Impact entrepreneur, we'll get into that. Astrophysics, we'll get into that as well. But why is it, like, were there any experiences that happened for you, right, that you think put you in to that sort of mind frame?
I guess there were a number of influences. My parents were pretty caring. They've done stuff for us kids, and they've done stuff for people in the community. So my dad, he was in resources industry, and I think my dad's 86, just turned 86 a week ago. And when he was, doing his projects, CSR, corporate social responsibility, wasn't a thing. But it was quite natural for him to give back to the community, like building, infrastructure, roads, schools. So he set that example. And just everything they did that way seemed really selfless, but also natural and not asking for any attention, until when my dad got called up to be awarded an OBE. An OBE in the UK is a pretty big deal. Then we realized, this is a good thing. Like, people are, getting recognized for it. We joke that OBE stands for Other Buggers Efforts, but actually, he truly deserved that. So he was definitely a role model. And then I think innately as well, I think you can look up to role models, but if you don't have it in you, then you're just gonna, you're not gonna act on it. But when I reflect back, I remember saving, rescuing kids out of the pool who can't swim, even though my swimming wasn't that strong. And now I teach kids life-saving skills. What else? I'm quite philosophical as well, and my middle name's Christopher. And I think, in some traditions they say that your name actually has an influence on how you live your life. And I looked up Saint Christopher. He was a saint apparently who helped baby Jesus across the river. And I feel like that's how I live my life. And everyone I help, I see them as a baby Jesus, that they have a lot to give the world. And I see myself more, supporting them on their mission. And I'm not saying it religiously. I know not everyone's Christian. So when I say, baby Jesus or baby Christ, I just mean, everyone as a spiritual being in general, like regardless of religion. And I just feel like, because every individual has so much potential, my potential is in helping them reach their potential.
Got it. So then we both have kids, right? I have 2, you have 4. And when we look at our kids, which are young, right? Yours are straddling ages, mine are 5 and 7. Mm-hmm. You look at their qualities, right? And you look and say, okay, so this one over here, she's very empathetic. This one here's a bully. Always the younger one's a bully. Why is that? The younger one's a bully.
Yeah, I've got those, yep.
There you go. But maybe it's because when the parents have the older one, they're like very careful. Oh my God, my baby just fell over. Oh my God, pick her up. Are you okay, darling? By the second one, you're like, yeah, whatever, they fell over. Get up, walk it off.
Yep.
So then we can see their qualities, or we believe we can. So with you, right, if I were to ask your parents, right, what or which, again, we're going to back into qualities because it pays, the reason will come later, but if they look back at your life and looked at some breadcrumbs of who Adrian was and who he was becoming, you've given us some latter-day ones, right, about wanting to help people, about St. Christopher and middle name Christopher relating to that. But if you could kind of track back, right, from your parents' viewpoint, what things you think happened to you when you were young, that you can remember that were kind of heading you on like a certain course of being an impact investor?
Oh, that's a good question. I was a bit of a troublemaker as a kid. Breadcrumbs. No one's ever asked me that, so it requires a bit of thinking. So to be clear, I wasn't a saint growing up. Troublemaker, destroying property, getting into fights. But equally, I wasn't that much of a rebel, so I was a normal kid. I was just trying to identify breadcrumbs, right?
Why you think about that, and it's going to come. So it reminds me, so we lived in this kids' home for 18 years in London, right? 18 kids, I was always the youngest one. Sucking these 2 fingers. I was the one that was shy, introverted. The extrovert came later. And I remember we used to be like across the road from a bus shelter, Perspex glass, and we had one of these Black Widow catapults. You know, remember those? They're so awesome. Yeah. They've got like an arm brace.
Yeah.
They're so powerful. Just hang like, oh Jesus, right? So they've got like an arm brace that locks it in, and like, now the police station was about 100 yards after this bus shelter. So what we love to do as kids, apart from, by the way, this wasn't me, I love animals, but like one of the other guys, you know, like threw a cat out the window to see if it landed on his feet. Like 18 kids, can you imagine what a train wreck that was? And so over the time, I must have seen about 100 kids or more come through. All of them were mentors for me, telling me what to do and what not to do, right? Crazy stuff. But we used to take great fun. Black widow, a stone, every couple of months, and just about midnight, 1 o'clock, when everyone's asleep, boom, and here, boom, it's like an explosion, because the perspex shatters, right? And then we all go back to bed, and we hide this catapult, and we never got caught, right? We never got caught, but like there were so many things like that we did as kids. That, like, honestly, I'm a saint now compared to who I was, right? So I get it when you mean I wasn't necessarily a saint. But of those breadcrumbs, are any more becoming apparent?
Yeah, thanks. So I now realize that a lot of the fights I got into were not because I instigated them, but because I was standing up for someone.
There you go.
Or I was getting in between to mediate, and then... Look, let's be honest, kids aren't diplomatic. If you get in the middle to stop something, you get dragged into it. So, yeah, I guess that's a breadcrumb. I guess, I remember, so in Singapore, you know, my folks were members of this prestigious club, and I was there with a friend, and a fight broke out. And I stepped in to mediate, and of course, you know, no one says, "Oh yeah, he tried to help things out." No, he's part of the trouble. So my folks were pretty mad about that, but I explained it to my dad, and he's like, "Okay, that's fair enough. Try to stay out of trouble, but I respect you for what you try to do." So I guess breadcrumbs like that in terms of trying to settle differences, and sticking up for people, especially underdogs, either underdogs under pressure from other groups of people, or in a precarious natural disaster, or self-inflicted accidental situation.
You know, like people watching now, right? So this show is about inspiration, right? Inspiration is caught, not taught. And quite often, right? So a lot of people who, welcome brother. Welcome. So a lot of people maybe don't know Adrian, right? And on this show we have lots of different personalities, right? So I'm an introverted extrovert. I would probably describe you as a bit of an introvert, maybe extrovert when you get warmed up. I know it. It's warming up. So we have different personalities, right? And it's interesting because different personalities give us different advantages in life, or other. I wouldn't call them disadvantages, right? Just other things to think about.
Flavors.
Yep. There you go. So for you, like, you went from being like a naughty kid that was always about protecting other people, though, right? And the impact investment, to me, it leads directly on from that. But before we get there, like, were there any turning points for you that when you look back, you think, you know what? That was a turning point. And if so, what was the turning point? You went from where to where? Hard questions, I know.
Yeah. So I used to travel a lot. So before Bali, I was running a software company in Malaysia. And the reason I was there is because I was relocated from the UK. And, growing up, or spending time in the UK, it's a developed country, and there are rules, etc. You see homeless people in the streets, but not compared to some of the places I visited, doing projects, software projects around Asia, and when you travel, you have a lot of time to think, especially on long haul flights. And I remember always, returning from these trips thinking, I'm going to come back and help, and I always put it off. Like, so I get back to the UK and I forget about it. But every trip I went out, I started feeling more guilty. Like, why am I putting off this decision? I was thinking, okay, if I put some money aside every month to donate to a cause, it's kind of like, buying me that sense of obligation. It's washing my soul in a bit. And then I realized, no, that's not enough. I want to get a bit more involved. And I decided, well, I don't have to wait till I make a fortune. I can start getting involved. So how can I start getting involved? So I think one of those trips when I'd seen enough, like, on the streets or the garbage that's piled up, when I could see that, if we work together, we can solve that problem. We can solve the environmental issue. We can solve the waste management problem, and we can provide education, if we all work together and if we all take action now as opposed to deferring that decision. I guess, I think it was a number of those first-hand incidences until eventually the straw, I don't know which trip it was, but the straw broke the camel's back. Like, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to take direct action as soon as I can, whenever I can.
Got it, brother. And just to fill you in, if you look at the Forbes probably rich list right now, hey, just came up. Introverts are the ones. Tech, Gates, this one, all introverts. None of them are actually extroverts when you think about it, just out of interest. So, question comes up, impact investing, right? So, how did you know that that's what you did?
Yeah, so I have to correct you there. So, I'm more of an impact entrepreneur. My background since, I finished university with engineering and management, a master's degree. So I always wanted to fix things, make things better, and I was always in consulting. And in consulting, you're trying to fix problems for clients, and I thought that's a good thing. But I felt that there must be a way to magnify impact, and serving one client at a time or one project at a time was good, but it was very sequential. And I realized there was this, there was a sense of urgency that we needed to do more efficiently. So that's why I sort of reconnected with my mission or my ethos, which is to support others. Because if I can support more people who are supporting more people, then what does that look like? And then I looked into impact investing, impact entrepreneurs, and realized that there are a lot of people who want to do similar things. So I decided that the best use of my time and talent was to connect people and to invest both my time and my resources and funding to help these people on the way.
Love it. And for people to have, I guess, a bit of a sense about maybe who you're working with, or these connections that you facilitated, can you give us an example, maybe of one of your most, and I don't mean this from an egotistical point of view, but one of your most successful occasions where you're able to connect or support someone or a group that were able to do incredible things?
I think one of the proudest projects is it's called Merah Putih Hijau. So my friend Nino, he promised he's watching tonight. He couldn't make it in person. So some of us, surfers, we're complaining about the trash that comes into the sea, rainy season, and we get involved in beach cleanups, and we realize that the problem isn't the trash on the beach. It came from somewhere else. It came from upstream. It came from inland, and so we started talking about how do we solve the problem, and then we caught wind of this guy who was trying to solve the same problem, but he needed help and resources. So we connected, and we realized actually we're all from different parts of different fields, but we're here to solve a common problem. So we got together and we said, hey Nino, what do you need to get this off the ground? He said, I need help with with the team, with scaling, a bit of experience and funding. So I got involved, and I brought my consulting, project management background and experience with scaling projects and companies. I helped him to recruit different advisors and volunteers. And volunteers love you, but we get a lot of transient flybys that come in and get really excited. And
fly in, fly out.
Fly in, fly out. Yeah. They do what they can. But so I introduced a bit of operational rigor, and we set some goals around. Do we just want to solve the problem in Preranan? So we set up the facility, the waste management facility in Preranan. And it really grew. So it wasn't just building the facility, but also creating the standard operating procedures, creating the socialization material, which means material in Bahasa and English, posters, fun games for kids to help them understand the waste problem and how they can be part of it. And we had a fundraiser at Deus, so we got bands and artists involved. So we got everyone from different parts of the community involved. Expats, locals, kids, adults. It was a real success. We even got, and I think what we did from the start, thanks to Nino who grew up in Bali, he said, look, we can't make this an expat project. This needs to be a gift, and we fully supported that ideology. We need to find local champions who really care about it, and support them. And I said, yeah, fully on board. That's how I operate. So so we found some local champions, and I got them to spread the word. And we even had schools from outside of Bali, international schools, coming to visit for the GIN conference, which is a global initiatives network. And kids from I think 10 different international schools came to see our facility in Preranan, and they were so inspired to go home back to Vietnam, Shanghai, wherever. And since that one facility, we managed to create the basically open source all the operating procedures, so that up to 10 other villages in Bali are now doing the same thing, basically village-based waste management, by the community, for the community.
Got it. So then, yes, round of applause. Thanks, Rod. Yeah, and I mean, with the skill set that you have, right? So if someone was looking at you and said, okay, I have this project, I want to get it off the ground, right? I need a team of people to help me. So then what skill set would you say that you have to facilitate that project, to get it up and running?
So I guess two parts to that question. So because of my engineering and consulting background, it's all about identifying the root cause and trying to find the most efficient ways to solve it. And also, how do we solve it in a way that we can scale it, we can replicate it, because this might not be the only problem, or this might not be the only occasion that the problem comes up. So how do we do it in a way that we can replicate it? And if the problem doesn't come up again now, how can we teach others to solve the same problem, where they are? So for me, it's being future-proof, being resilient, but also being agile, because especially in Indonesia and Bali, you get thrown curveballs all the time. So I'm a realist, so while I like things to go to plan, I also realize you need a plan B, C, all the way to Z. right? And you need to be a bit of a realist. So I've always been very, always try to be very effective and efficient, because I feel that, waste management isn't just about environmental waste, but also talent and wasted time. So I don't want to waste anyone's time. I don't want to waste anyone's, or even waste anyone's donation. So we have to be very efficient. We need to be very efficient when we're delivering impact. So that's one half of the story. But at this stage of my life, I've seen a lot of projects mostly succeed. And now I guess what I bring to projects now is really identifying, talent and putting them in the right roles in the organization, and then ensuring that everyone has fun while they're doing, because in consulting, the 4 phases of team formation or team performance are forming, so you pull the team together. Storming, there's a lot of conflicts. People have different ways of working. Then you get to norming, okay, now we understand how we work. We have to establish the right way to communicate, the right way to operate, and then finally we get to performing. So I really like to accelerate, getting to performing. And I find the way to do that is to just acknowledge everyone's contribution, make sure everyone is having fun while remembering the mission and delivering against the vision.
So if you're watching this, Speak Up Monday, maybe you're on Instagram over here. So episode number 200, Speak Up Monday is about, sharing inspiring stories of people here in Bali who call Bali home. Home might be for 6 months. It might be for 6 years. I met one guy that was here for 16, 20 years. Like, okay, so it's definitely home for you. And so this is a window because, Bali has changed. No, let me say it again. Bali's the same, as I explained to you before. Bali's the same, but there's a different dimension to Bali because now, obviously, with all that's going on, you haven't got this, traveling isn't cheap.
Or easy.
No. Or easy right now. So the people that are coming don't fall into the same category and baskets as they did before. So what we have now is more culturally aware, remote working in those industries of startups, incubators, accelerators, sustainability, and so on. So part of what the Speak Up Monday is about people which are outside of Bali. I mean, we love Bali, right? So we're trying to convert people. It's not that hard, actually. But when they see people's stories, they'll relate to one of them or some of them. And then when they relate to people's challenges, they'll relate to one of them or all of them, right? Because we all have challenges. So on that note of challenges, right? So somebody who's new to Bali, or maybe has been stuck here from Singapore for 7 or 8 months, right? Who's maybe in hospitality industry, right? He knows what I'm talking about. So what kind of challenges, the main ones that come up, would people here face, and how do you overcome them? Now, these are the ones that come into your mind, so you don't have to think so wide, but the ones that come into your head, what would they be, and how do you overcome them?
Yeah, Bali seems to be very attractive these days, and it's the most Googled destination, is that? And I think it's come up.
So TripAdvisor #1 in the world, 2021.
Yeah, it's funny because when I moved to Bali almost 8 years ago, I was a bit unusual because I was, one of the first remote executives. And it's much easier now to be, working from Bali. When I first moved here, power cuts were still a thing. Internet connection was just good enough to do video conferencing. So in terms of working from Bali, I think most of those problems have gone away, especially when you can come to a really top-end co-working space like Tropical Nomad here. So I think in terms of working environment, it's not too difficult. But in terms of integrating into Bali, Bali's not like wherever you've come from. Like even people from Jakarta, like Bali's not the same as Jakarta, as you know. So I think probably biggest challenge is realizing that beyond the TripAdvisor reviews, beyond the Instagram posts, there is a raw edge to it. There's it does challenge you. There are, gray areas that will trip you up, that, both in business and in the community. There's still, I think you had 2 weekends, 2 weeks ago, lovely lady came to talk about, setting up business in Bali. A lot of people still try to cut corners, and eventually it catches up to them. So it's getting clearer. It's still not as black and white as you may be setting up in Singapore, but if you plan to do business in Bali, just get the right advice and do it properly. In terms of culturally and community, it's not a challenge for me anymore. I just accept that, the ceremonies in Bali, it's actually a beautiful thing. I really welcome them. But if you're not familiar with the Balinese calendar, which is very different to, the Western calendar, Galungan, we just celebrated Galungan, and most tourists might think, oh, that's an annual event. No, we celebrated Galungan 6 months ago. So how long is this calendar? It's not even half of 365. So you really need to be flexible with your sense of time, and also sense of punctuality, you really need a great sense of humor and a lot of patience. Don't expect things to go as planned. If you're prepared for the unknowns, then you'll enjoy Bali more. I've been here, as I say, almost 8 years, and there were challenges. We still have challenges, but more so in the early days, finding our way around. But I guess, advice for people trying to navigate the challenges of Bali is, respect the local culture, integrate as much as you can, learn Bahasa, speak to your neighbor, your Balinese neighbor, really integrate. The more you integrate, the more you understand. And even when challenges come up, you realize it's not the end of the world, and I'm not the only one having these challenges. All is good.
It makes me smile because two stories come in my head. One is, we've had a few businesses here. I'm looking at you, but I'm looking at you as well. And I remember one of them was a cafe where obviously life in Bali, which is where all of this started like 3 years ago. And I remember that we had all these staff. Right, I remember the first holiday came. This is after about a year of being here, and I'm looking at Itchy because he knows this so well. We had our first holiday come up, and then all of a sudden we got all of these requests for a day off on the same day come up from like 90% of our staff. We're like, what's going on here? What we realized was there's like 4 dominant religions here, 5 if you include the rest. Each one has its own respect, has its day or days. You just mentioned Galungan and Kunigan on the way, but each one has its own time on the calendar. So when you're hiring staff, if you don't get a good cross-section of the religions, you're stuffed when it comes to these very important religious ceremonies. So that was one of the first things we learned. The second thing, I was born in London, you can hear from the accent, very big city, go, 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 go. Lived in Sydney for a long time, not so big, but still go, 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 go. Came here with the, you guessed it, go, 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 go attitude, right? And I was running around on my bike, I gotta get this meeting, And I remember, I think I had a few little, almost Bali kisses at that time, almost Bali where you fall off and you lose skin. Almost, right? Because I was rushing. I remember this one particular day where I knew where I had to be. I knew I was late. So I knew I wasn't going to get there, but I was still rushing in some hope that time might stop or go backwards, right? That my watch was wrong. And all the other clocks and watches are wrong too. Right? So what happened was, I went through one corner, had a mini kind of Bali kiss almost, Didn't learn. Kept on going. The next corner, someone always cut me off, which happens a lot. Didn't learn. And I got to the third corner, and I turned around, and I saw some people here, but I didn't see people there. And I turned right, thinking that I just got ahead of these people here, so I was good. And then once I turned right and put my head up, I looked, I don't remember the festival, but you're way ahead of me. There was like 1,000 people dressed in white. I think it was at a cremation, carrying this big coffin, going that way. I thought, okay, but I can still go backwards and out where I came from. No. I turned around. The gap that I found had now disappeared. So I looked back, there's another 1,000 odd people going that way, and I was like, fuck. I was just like, at which point I just surrendered, at which point I just said, you know what? I'm going to be late. I'm just going to embrace it how it is. And I made a phone call or a little text saying, hey, I'm late. And I think theirs was my moment where I was able just to let go and actually look at what was happening and see the beauty in what was happening, and actually kind of let myself or allow myself to actually feel into it. And that was one of the moments for me that kind of began to change things. But okay, so Bali, one of the most challenging moments that you had, and how did you overcome it, if you overcame it? Whatever comes up first, brother. the one you don't want to talk about, that one.
Okay, this is probably no surprise for non-Indonesians. It was visa related. We did everything that we were asked to do: submit the passports and trust the agent. Pay for the monthly extensions, and I was pretty busy at the time. Traveling to Jakarta, traveling all over, and it wasn't an issue for me. It was my family's passports and their visa extensions, and I lost track of the fact that they stopped getting in touch with me about extending the visa, and I got in touch with them and said, look, what's happening with the extension? Do I need to pay for another extension? And basically they lost the passports. It was it was somewhere there. We'd overstayed. It was pretty stressful. But the great thing about Bali is, as well as these gray areas and challenges, you can, if you find someone who hears you out, understands that it wasn't intentional and it was no fault of yours, you can work something out. We still had to pay a penalty, all is good, but obviously we've not gone back to that agent, and we've not referred any friends to that agent. But it was pretty stressful because, with 4 kids, you're thinking we're going to get deported and never be allowed back. I think that was the biggest challenge, because there's a sense of it's out of your control. There's nothing you can do, and it's up to them whether they listen to your appeal or they've got. This was pre-COVID, so many tourists that they had to deal with, and some genuine stories, some made-up stories. So luckily they gave me the benefit of the doubt and said, okay, I understand you had a bad agent, but we still need to, follow the rules, which means that there's some penalty involved. And okay, fine. So it was painful on the wallet, but lesson learned. And so again, for future visitors to Bali, make sure you get a good visa agent.
Yeah, love that visa agent. So true. And one of the stories that comes up in my head is about, and it took me years to get this as well. Brett, who just arrived, I think, probably got this after. Look, he speaks incredibly beautiful Bahasa, and anyway, but what it was is that, it's this understanding that, there's black and there's white and there's grey. Anyone who's lived here for a period of time knows exactly where it is. I don't need to tell you. But behind that is another thing, which is like there's black, there's white, there's grey, and let's come together to find the common ground. So once I got that, let's come together to find the common ground, that's when things began to transform and change to the better in my head as well. And I wish that someone would have told me that early on, because I was stuck on this, like, I'm right.
I think it's one of those things you need to experience. If someone told you that, like, that concept wouldn't make sense. No, it's black or white, right? I'm either right or I'm wrong, or this is according to the law or it's against the law. What gray area are you talking about? I think you had to experience it to realize, that's what they mean.
You know, two questions come up. One is, you know, where do you see, because you've worked across multiple industries at a very strong, established echelon or level. So one question would be, you know, like, where do you see the future of Bali going, is one. And the second part to that question, which is not related at all, at all in the slightest, is like, so you strike me, and probably everybody here, as a person who, like, there's really not much that is going to ruffle your feathers, man. That's what it appears to me. You look like whatever's going on the inside, it could be like a swan, you know, like the legs are going underneath, and on top of the water it's like serene and calm, right? But like, if we go with the serene and calm on top of the water, like, how do you manage to stay so, what appears to me to be so centered when there's craziness going on around you? So, to give it to you again, let's reverse it. The first one is the last one, which is, how do you remain so centered and upbeat, right, when all this craziness is going on? That's one. And then number two, being that you've worked across multiple industries at a very high level, this guy is a change maker. He won't tell you because he's far too humble. And he's worked with some incredible change makers here in Bali as well. So he's in a very good place to answer that question. So where do you see Bali going? There you go. They're the two parts of completely unrelated question.
Great questions. So which one did you want first?
Whichever one you're feeling established for.
All right. How do I stay centered? Well, thanks for the compliment. Yeah, I think I am centered most of the time, and yeah, I do say that one of my strong traits is optimism. How do I stay that way? I think I've got a pretty good. Well, I think part of it is I think I've always been pretty centered, and I've got a pretty good meditation practice now, which combined with breath work, which I recently graduated as a facilitator. Thank you to Alex Sook up in Ubud. So I've combined meditation, breath work, and ice bath. Not because I want to be a superhero, but things like the ice bath. It helps you to get into a state of what's the word? Forced mindfulness.
Internal equanimity.
Internal equanimity. That's right. Yeah. I love it. Love it. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess testing myself in these situations, and always returning to the breath. Because I think the quality of your breath dictates the quality of your experience, which dictates the quality of your life. So I guess in any stressful situation, if you can just disconnect and remember to breathe, but breathe correctly. Breathe through your nose, breathe deeply, breathe into your belly, and when you're thinking about your breath, it gives you time and space to realize actually it's not that bad, and this challenge or this disagreement, it will pass. I think the Buddha said, all this will pass. So if you're having a good time, enjoy it because it will pass. If you're having a bad time, just hang in there because it will pass. So
you know what comes up with that, and I know we've got the other part of the question, completely unrelated question. What I noticed about you as well is that you are a person who writes copious notes, right? So we've had 200 of these speak-ups, so this is number 200. And I remember when we were doing the men's circle that we started at Life in Bali that went on for a good year and a half or so, like 50 guys, and that was great. But in every situation that I've seen you in, when it comes to either a talk or a workshop, okay, obviously, but even a talk or somebody sharing, you're the one who's always doing this. Right? And I bet this book, it's right there. I knew it, it's right there.
Hide it. You have a question about that?
I do, yeah. So I think that that's connected to this because now for me, you seem to be a person who has managed to imbibe some great teachings. You mentioned Buddha. You mentioned a few people here which tell me everything about the way you think. Because the people that we refer to is who we become, right? One way or the other. I quote Richard Harrington a lot. I want to become Richard. But the point I'm trying to make, though, is that the way that you bring that information in and process it, the end result is who you are and this way of being that you have. And I think that that's very connected, inextricably connected actually, with this person that I see before me who remains very calm, very centered, very observant, and very present.
Yeah, I guess I write notes for different reasons. One, to remember things. And also, I think a lot, and so that I don't get stuck in my head, I put the notes, make a note of it, of something that's come up, or in workshops or in circles, someone says something really inspiring. A lot of times they do say something very inspiring, which leads on to something else. So I want to make sure I capture that because they're gems of wisdom, whether the person speaking it knew it at the time or not, but it's had a positive impact on me. And the other reason I do it is because when I'm with someone, I would I'd like to give them my full, undivided attention. So if a distraction comes to mind, I write it down. Okay, out of my mind. Now you've got my full attention. Because I think in this day and age, being fully present, especially with someone else, it's such a rare commodity. And I really, I don't. Apart from supporting people on their mission, I don't give away too many gifts, but at the very least, I want to give people my full and undivided attention.
All right, love that. So, Bali, where do you see the future going? Yeah,
I'm very optimistic about the future of Bali. It's so famous surf movie from the 60s. I think, Rod, you know this, 60s or 70s. It was called The Morning of the Earth. And I think in the post-pandemic world, Morning of the Earth, or either New Morning of the Earth or Morning of a New Earth, seems really apt, for Bali. In terms of where we are as a civilization, not just in Bali, but setting an example to the rest of the world. I think, for different reasons. I think the traditions and culture of Bali. I'm sure you're familiar with Trihita Kirana. So respecting, God or spiritual realm. Respecting man and respecting the environment, right? And that's such a beautiful ideology, right? And I think where we are as a planet, as a civilization, if we can spread that word, that's amazing. So the tradition and culture of Bali has a lot to share with the rest of the world, to set an example. But also with the diversity of all the entrepreneurs, all the change makers, both in the environmental field, sustainability, renewables, sources of energy, technology. There's the blockchain and crypto community here is really thriving. You've got technology startups involving crypto and non-crypto. And change makers, as we mentioned, trying to solve different problems in the environment and in the community. So I feel that the future of Bali is really bright, because I think we're just looking at the tip of the iceberg, because a lot of these groups are trying to do something really innovative, really regenerative, and a lot of times very selfless. For sure they want to make a profit, but they're also trying to bring something to serve the world, to serve the community, to serve the environment. And I say it's the tip of the iceberg because we haven't seen enough collaboration between the groups to really amplify that, which actually is a nice segue to a project that I'm working on at the moment, which is it's basically an online platform to promote planet positive partnerships. So those of you who are familiar with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, there are 17 of them. Ironically, Goal 17 is not a goal in itself. Goal 17 is a reminder about partnership. So Goal 17 is partnership for the goals, partnership for the preceding 16 goals. It's basically saying, in order for us to solve all these problems, we need to look at all the problems holistically, and we need to work together as investors, entrepreneurs, charitable organizations, government bodies, individuals. The platform we're working on is in the first stage is to connect charitable organizations with big corporates who have a corporate social responsibility budget, who want to park that to the right causes. So again, it's basically the technology platform to support more and more of these positive impact projects, and connecting more people in this community, not just in Bali but globally and in different industries. So the plan is to really leverage on the partnerships and collaboration so that we can make the world a better place, because no single individual or organization has all the answers, but collectively I think we have not just one answer, but multiple versions of many answers to solve many problems and serve the world in different ways.
Love that, man. And interesting enough, that's where we connect. Another point of our connections, right? Because, we're both, and there are many people here who've been on the show as well, that have this insight that, we do it together. Mm-hmm. Right? Yep. Ubuntu, as my brother over here would say, I am you, you are me. But we also have to get to a point where, we have to find a way to make sure that we're okay. Mm-hmm. Right? Because, you can't give from an empty cup.
Yep.
Right? So you have 4 children. Mm-hmm. You're here in Bali. There might be people here watching saying, hey, I'm thinking about moving to that place called Bali. I've got my kids, right? What's it like with kids in Bali? So maybe the question then would be, right, so you've been here for 8 years, you have 4 children, varying ages, and your kids are beautiful, by the way. Some really very, very great kids. And, so what would you say, someone who's looking to move here with children, which things or which points should they pay particular attention to?
Right. Yeah, good question. I guess it depends what age the kids are at. I think for younger kids, the Balinese culture is really welcoming of children. Some societies, especially modern cities, when you bring kids, they just see them as a nuisance. But in Bali, in Balinese communities, they really welcome the kids. So young kids will feel very welcome. In fact, kids of all ages will feel very welcome. So what should they pay particularly attention to? I think if you are a tiger parent and you have fixed ideas around the educational curriculum, where they're going to go for high school, university. I think you need to rethink the world that these kids are going to grow up and inhabit, or be, change makers or contributors to. So you need to rethink whether it's your own aspirations or your lost opportunities that you're imposing on your kids, or do you want to bring them here to really experience Bali for all that it is, because Bali is really a microcosm of the world and the universe in terms of what life is really about. It's not just about academics, it's not just about business, it's about much more than that. It's about community, it's about the environment, it's about culture. So I think you need to set that aside. I'm not saying those are bad aspirations in terms of aiming for your Harvards or your Stanfords, but just park that aside and see what comes up in Bali and see how your child thrives. And I've been here 8 years, and when I first moved to Brawa, there wasn't much around, and for the first couple of months I was questioning myself, like, have I made the right decision? My kids are going to grow up in this remote village. But now we've got places where kids can go to learn coding, robotics, all kinds of sports. There's go-karting, there's motocross. So I think kids growing up in Bali aren't missing out that much, and then things that they're missing out on, you got to question, like was it is it such a missed opportunity that they don't go to shopping malls as much? Set aside any preconceptions, and then enjoy Bali for the time that they're here, and then at some point, when kids get a bit older, when they get into their teenage years, I'll be honest, it gets a bit loose in Bali.
Gets a bit loose.
Yeah.
We could go deeper there, but we won't today. But we could. But we won't.
But I think, look, I think as parents, again, look, as I said, Bali is like a microcosm of life, and you can't shield kids from the party scene and rules being broken, and so as a parent you just need to step up and have those honest conversations with your kid, and make sure that you provide a safe space that they can bring up topics that need to be spoken about. And I think if you take kids growing up anywhere, they're going to be facing similar challenges, maybe different flavors to Bali. I guess. So biggest challenge is don't have too many preconceptions. The great thing about Bali now is a lot of families, so you can find a support group of other families, other parents, and share ideas. And another great thing about Bali is, if there isn't currently a solution, you can band together and come up with a solution. Hence why the label for my talk tonight is here for good. So you don't have to plan to be in Bali permanently. You don't have to plan to be here for good, but you can plan to be here to do good. Don't just complain about things. If you're facing a challenge as a parent, as a business person, whatever, as a digital nomad, chances are other people are facing the same problem, and together you can either find the solution or create the solution to benefit everyone else.
That's a very important point. Part of what Speak Up Monday has been about, and this was collateral. Like, I didn't, when we started this, I didn't realize that this would be a thing. But it has become that, right? So I have a personal mission to create a positive shift in the lives of 1 billion people within the next 20 years, right? So, and that came from a lot of stuff in my past and a mission that I'm pulled towards, right? So being in Bali, and what Speak Up Monday has done is, for each of those 200 interviews that we've done, each one opens up another network of people right? And because we go deep here, there's no real escaping from the questions, as you now know. But you volunteer, so I love that. Bit of coercion. But here's the thing, like when you connect with another human being and you get who they are at their core, like all of us which are meeting at the moment feel this pull towards creating a trusted network which can be housed on blockchain or something else, whereby people who want to come to Bali, whether it's for business, for family, to do retirement, I know quite a few people who come in to retire as well, you have, because trust is one of the biggest challenges that people looking from the outside in have about a place like Bali, outside of the beauty and the #1 most Googled destination, all the rest of that. So what we're doing is creating that. So for example, for those of you who are looking to move here, we're creating like a guide, right? Which will be ready soon. Soon, in Bali, we call it on progress, right? Give me another year. It's on process. Right?
Jump karat.
It's on process, right? So, but if you get in touch with me, send me your email. We'll put it onto this little list. So when we get it, we'll get it to you. But what it will do then is that wherever you want to go, in whichever area in Bali, we'll have the connections and the network for you to facilitate you into doing that, right? That's what it's really all about, because we love it here and we want to share. And at the end of the day, like within the next 20 years, 50% of the world's working population will be working remotely. Say again, next 20 years, 50% of the world's working population will be working remotely. So this is the way that you mentioned about the trends before, and this is where Bali's going. So, you know, we've got, again, change makers in from sustainability all the way through to business to, you know, like everyone's a coach in Canggu. Most people here are like, yeah, that's right, I'm a coach, yeah. Right? But everyone is a coach pretty much. Out of there, there's some great coaches who are professional, being paid for what they do, and there's some which are not, and that's fine. But the point is that I see some more smiles over here. But whatever you've come here for, you know, what we want to do, and when I say we, what you said earlier on is it's far larger than any one person. So Ichi, I talk about him a lot, Ichi Yamada, one of the owners here, Tropical Nomad, incredible guy. Richard Harrington over here, obviously Adrian Keet. We got Bhavna Parihar. By the way, Bhavna is, you may have seen it before. So over 200 interviews for Speak Up Monday. Bhavna's coming on board. So you get a different person doing the interview, and she's amazing. By the way, just met an incredible Didac. So Didac is the indigenous tribe of Borneo. Didacs. Dayak, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Dayak. So in about 2 weeks' time, you're going to be interviewing one. Yeah, just so you know. By the way, she's just found out now. Right? So that will be phenomenal. Met this incredible guy who specializes in doing these tours into Dayak. Thank you for the correction. Incredible guy called David, who you might know, Ubud. Right? Yeah, incredible guy. So coming full circle, a lot of the work which I do as a tourism architect is around this, is around creating pathways and collaboration, strategic partnerships with these groups I've identified. And look, this also spills over to those who are coming before. It's not just exclusively for that, but that's where it's focused. And this is all tied in, actually, to what you were talking about with the UN, right? Yep, all tied into that, but then tied into our missions. Like Richard has a mission to, you know, create. Okay, you have to remind me now. To basically give the tools for financial freedom, right, for 1 billion people by 2030, right? Another beautiful powerful. And Richard was financially free at the age of 24, featured in Forbes. Amazing guy. If you haven't seen him before, he's right there. Have a chat to him. Amazing guy. And if you haven't seen him, then just go back in the YouTube library of Speak Up Monday, and you'll find the last 100 Speak Up Mondays that have happened here at Tropical Nomad, thanks to this great connection I have with Ichi Yamada and the team here at Tropical Nomad. Incredible person, by the way, this one over here. Tell your story, but not tonight. So, by the way, in a moment we have a third microphone, so if you do have any questions for Adrian over here, just put your hand up and just put this microphone to your mouth and ask a question. So we'll get to that. But, so we've been through a bit, right? We've discovered, that you're one of 7, born in Singapore. You've been here for 8 years, 4 kids. Understand a little bit about your mindset, right? Why you're kind of geared to being an impact entrepreneur. Also, these UN sustainability goals, 17, right? That you have this very strongly in mind and you engage that, right? Understand a little bit about your mindset, how breath work, ice baths, and all these things coming together, meditation, of course, gives you this way of being, I called it the internal, I love the word equanimity. It's not used enough, but equanimity is such a beautiful word, but that's who you represent to me, who you always have represented to me, actually. So there you go.
Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. And your wife is not here at the moment. Lindsay is another amazing human being and very community supportive and community centric, which I also love. So here, there's an incredible community of expats and locals working together and, to do some incredible things, some incredible projects. I've interviewed a few guys at Blockchain, obviously Michael Healy, Unit, and then other ones as well. And there's more coming through or down the pipeline as we come. Massive sustainability projects. One guy called Renat Huberger company, Renat as well. South Pole, his company. He's here in Bali. I think he's in Switzerland at the moment, but he's based here in Bali. His company, South Pole, is the 3rd largest company in the world that is to do with funding and facilitating initiatives that remove CO2 from the environment. Like, some of the quality of some of the people here in Bali will blow your mind. Right? Will blow your mind. So if you're even thinking about it, I know it's like, is he trying to get us to come to Bali? Yes. Yeah. Unashamedly, yes, I am. If you are a person who is culturally aware and sensitive and flexible, right? A person who's coming with good intentions to create something for yourself, because we all need that stuff for ourselves, let's be honest, but also for other people, right? Who is aware that we're part of a bigger fabric, a larger network, that if we can cooperate, if we can come together strategically in partnerships and so on, the things that we can create, like Richard's goal, I'm sure you have a great goal as well, and people watching have a greater chance to facilitate it in probably half the time that we had in our mind, so what comes up for you, brother?
What comes up for me, I think, great shout out for people in the room. I think they're all, doing their bit to, make a positive impact in Bali. And I think together, some of you, most of you I met, love you guys, and some I haven't met and I'd love to connect with you. So 1st of December, I'm running the first of a series of online conferences to promote Bali, same as you, to give people a flavor of Bali that's, outside of the stereotype. When I first moved to Bali, it was all about hospitality and very, transient tourism based. But as we've been talking, new Bali, morning of the new earth in Bali is very diverse, very vibrant. So 1st of December, online conference, free to attend. I'm inviting yourself, Robert. I'm inviting Ben. And in fact, everyone in this room, you have an open invite to come and talk from between 20 minutes to 25 minutes to talk about the work that you're doing in Bali. It can be business related, it can be community related, and it's an opportunity to promote Bali, promote your project, promote the new Bali to the rest of the world, and connect with other, change makers, pioneers, visionaries, investors, and show people the possibility of what we can do as a diverse, community of entrepreneurs and change makers, and sure, I selfishly want to promote Bali on that forum, but I think any community that comes together, hopefully Bali setting an example, can show other communities that if they came together, they can reimagine a more resilient, more regenerative way of doing business and living, beyond the broken consumer-based capitalistic system that has led us, I guess, to the brink of extinction, per a good friend Ben's talk last week. So that's what comes up for me.
Wonderful. And so by the way, if you have any questions, just raise your hand. And so picking up on Benjamin Castillo, who was our guest last week, his eyes were like, oh, that's right, it's me. Yeah, you, Ben. So incredible show. Remember, so if you go to Robert Ian Bonnick, Speak Up Monday on YouTube, then in the library, the playlist of Speak Up Monday, you'll find the last 100 episodes. I mean, look, over the years, I mention him a lot 'cause I think he's a damn good guy. But Mikey, if you're watching, Mikey Moran from the co-founder of Gojek, we had him on the show. I'm just cherry picking some of my favorites. They're all blessed. Some stand out more. I'm not going to mention Richard's one because he's been on 3 times, but I love Richard Harrington. But another girl, right? So Matilda Dwi Lestadi. Matilda, if you're watching now, love you too, babe. She's about yay high. Maybe I'm giving her too much height. I think she's a bit smaller. And so she is the first Indonesian female team, along with Francisca, who is a climbing partner. And they completed what's called the 7 Summits Challenge some years ago, which is to climb the highest mountain on 7 continents, including Mount Everest. Just phenomenal. And all power to her, because when we first started Speak Up Monday, it was a presentation followed by Q&A at Life in Bali at Tamora Gallery. Shout out to the Tamora group I've been working with for some years, a bunch of amazing people. But it was that. Mm-hmm. And I remember that this great girl called Dita, who's a word poet, speech poet, said, look, Rob, and she spoke about this incredible woman called Matilda Dwi Lestadi, and I thought it was just someone she admired. Fast forward 2 weeks forward past that point, I'm there, and we have a cancellation for the following week on Speak Up Monday. I'm like, I wasn't stressing though. It was I wonder who's going to come in for this one. I wasn't, because we always get the people. And then Dieter was there again, and then da-da-da-da. Oh, I remember the girl I was talking about, yeah. Oh, she's right there. I'm like, all right, cool. Now, as you can tell, I'm a bit of a larrikin. I like to joke. I love to have fun, and all this stuff. I like to inspire people, okay? Facilitate, inspire, connect. These are the 3 things that define me, right? Facilitate, inspire, connect. And so with Matilda, I knew within about 5 seconds that she was going to be the guest for the upcoming week.
Did she know?
But she didn't know it. I hadn't even met her, but I just had a feeling, So pretty soon we're cracking jokes, and we get to the point, and I'm saying, Matilda, so next week it's going to be you up there. She's like, no way. I'm like, what do you mean, no way? She's like, I'm not doing that. Quickly surmised that she was scared about talking in public. Right, as many people are. Fear of public speaking is one of the biggest fears in the world that we all have most of us have as human beings. So, not me, and this is the beauty about Bali and about being connected. Dropped in, we'll just do Q&A. You won't need to present anything. And when you look at people and their eyes tell you they're in, their body tells you, no, I'm not. But they're in, because their soul has told you, I'm in, right? And she's there going looking for an excuse. She's like, oh, okay then. So she said yes. And the next week we do the most incredible interview with Matilda. We've done 3 since then, by the way. Such an incredible woman, this one. And she's doing it to empower Indonesian women who, again, every country has got its thing. Here, that's something that she believes very strongly about, and I helped her with a book, and so she's a powerhouse of a woman, but very softly spoken. Not, what you would expect from a person in your head, that had done all that she has done. Such a remarkable woman. And then after that, that's when we became purely Q&A only. Because after I saw that and saw that this natural flow of love and the person that she is through activating questions, then I realized that no more for presentation. This is all about being. So when people come, like Adrian's like, so what do I do? You know, like, what do I prepare to come on Speak Up Monday? It's like, nothing to prepare. Just bring you.
Beautiful, yeah, great format, and I have to say, very hard to say no to you, Robert. On that note, though, mate, you can call on me anytime. I know that it was a last-minute invite, and I had to check my schedule and check with my assistant and my assistant's assistant and their assistant. But yeah, you can call on me anytime, and yeah, that's a great format, really enjoyable. So yeah, keep up the good work. 200th, number 200, Speak Up today.
Yeah!
This man, rain or shine, week in, week out. Thanks for making it happen.
Oh man, you know, we've got some great things coming. Like again, I'm waiting for 250. I celebrate 200. I celebrate every episode, but 250 in my head is something. And so we're going to be doing some incredible masterminds, because as you know, if you're in the Speak Up Monday community, you're like, you know what happens, right? You get 2 or 3 speak ups a week. People come, hi, and they go. It's like, what else are you doing, Rob? Like, I've built communities of like millions of people over the world, but I can't build my own. So what I've got to do is say, you know what? It's time to focus inward, time to focus on Speak Up Monday. So over the next months, you're going to see some really cool stuff happening, masterminds where we all get to come together and to find a way to really activate this incredible network and brains trust that we have to empower the future. But now, empower the future now. So if you haven't joined the Speak Up Monday Facebook group, join it, because a lot will go through that. There's also an email list that you can be on, but just join that one. Leave your email address and we'll put you onto that. And there's also Speak Up Monday, like an Instagram, which is more of a bulletin that will go. But things like Freedom Day Bali, right? Things like that, collaborations with Nev and those guys from the Mental Health Week to raise awareness and money for mental health here in Bali. Like, all of these things were kind of reminding me, said, Rob, you need to get off your ass. You need to stop. You need to drop a few things that you're doing, because you're doing maybe a few too many things, and just begin to focus a little bit more. So like, and hearing you, right? Some people here in the audience who I'm going to be on the show as well, just reminds me of the power that we have when we leverage with trust and good intent what we can achieve. So if there's anyone here, completely missed it, has any questions, feel free. Yep, beautiful, one over here. All right.
Yeah. Hi, so I'm Rich from South Africa. Thanks, Adrian, for your talk. Loved it. Well done, Rob, again for the 200 episodes. And I just want to say that a lot of the friends I have today, I'm in Bali, I met them here on Monday nights at Speak Up Monday. So thanks for that. My question is, I love that you mentioned the UN sustainability goals. My goal is number 10, to reduce economic inequalities. I love the term that you used, raising local champions, because what I've seen a lot in South Africa and Africa, you have a lot of like Europeans and Americans with good hearts that come there, but there's not a lot of empowerment. It's just like handouts and then they're gone. So like raising up local champions, what do you use to get them to buy into what it is you want to do? So like a vision of sustainability and that, how do you get them to buy into it? I know you mentioned you have like a friend on the ground. And what else is there to break that divide? Because like many times, like me being a digital nomad in Bali, you go to the community and you still look like an outsider. So it's like us versus them. So what do you do to break down that divide of cultural, language, religion, to get them to buy into your vision? Because like you said, you want the locals to own it, so that if you go back to Malaysia or Singapore, that thing will still stand. Because I do believe that we've evolved from from leadership that's around an individual. So like in South Africa, like leadership was around Mandela and Martin Luther King and Gandhi, but we've evolved now to rally around the movement, the project. So what do you do to get the locals to buy into that project and that movement? Thanks.
Yeah, great to meet you, Richard. Thanks for the question. So I think the first thing to do is to open your eyes, your ears, and your heart, because it's really hard to convert someone who's tone deaf to the problem. But if you pay attention, there are others who are equally or even more passionate. And so it's almost a headhunting exercise. So it takes patience. But I think that if you go to the right places and you connect with the right communities, you will find, you'll see a star. You'll see someone who's, passionate about the same problem that you're trying to support. So I think the first step is to try to find those budding change makers. And they may not be polished in terms of the terminology. They may not be polished in terms of their presentation skills. They may need support. They may need mentoring. But they are there. I've seen, in so many different examples, so many different scenarios in Bali. So, yeah, first step is, look for them. It will take time, but as I said, if you go to the right places, you will find them. And I have found many. So inspirational, already doing the right things. And when we came, all we did was amplify what they were already doing. In fact, in some circumstances, they were teaching us more than we knew because they were on the ground trying to fix the problem, and we were just bringing them some modern technology or additional funding or more PR around their cause. So the other thing that I've done is create a lot of material that's easy for the different audiences to understand. So make sure that it's in Bahasa, and if possible, also make it in Balinese, and integrate the cultural sensitivity. So, for example, on one of the projects, we sponsored a Hawaiian kulit shadow puppet show for the village, and it was talking about the environment and waste management, sustainability, and community values. So it's really using the tools that they're familiar with to show that it is not a foreign concept we're trying to introduce. Let's talk about it in a context that you're familiar with. So, and I think also from my experience, it seems like a generalization, but a lot of these community initiatives, women tend to be the women of the village. They tend to be a bit more motivated intrinsically, and I think no fault of the men. I think they just have to go out and provide for the family, so they're very focused on the profit motive, because with profit they can then provide for the families, whereas what we've seen, what I've seen on my projects, is the women are just more intrinsically community focused, so more caring about, because I don't know, maybe they can see more holistically, beyond the commercial angle, but towards the social, environmental aspects, because I think they're caregivers as well, so they want to leave the world a better place. So if they see that you're supporting a cause and you're supporting local champions, they're gonna get behind that cause. So working with women's groups, identifying the local champions, and then really supporting them with the right to ask them what they need, and then take a really long-term view. Look for mentors that they can rely on, and look for a network of other change makers. And there are more and more networks coming up that they can rely on each other, that they can share problems and also share solutions. So, don't mean to sound like an expert. I'm just sharing, my experience.
Thank you.
It reminds you of is Rich Flicks the what's the easiest way to get to you? Website.
Yeah, so I'm a quick plug.
Plug away.
Yeah, we're building the Netflix of wealth and investing. So it's called Richflix, and you can check it out at richflix.net.
Wonderful. So richflix.net. So as you said before, right, the tools to empower 1 billion people to set themselves financially free by 2030. Richflix.net, right? My brother, another brother, Benjamin, my brother. So new world together. Quick plug. Get it up. Yeah.
Hi. Yes, that's unexpected. So you want me to present quickly the project?
Yes, please. Give about 30 seconds to a minute. It's good.
So very shortly, it's an interdisciplinary research and education platform, pioneering sustainability through human-centered solutions. So we're working on what are the patterns that need to change within ourselves so that we can become individually and collectively a sustainable species.
Love it. Newworldtogether.com.
Exactly.
Now, one thing, because Ben was on last week, one thing which blew me away about what you had to say was this this collective wound that we have, right?
Yes.
And the three, you want to quickly, I think it's
so I'm gonna do
extremely valuable
yes.
and powerful for us to understand, right? Yeah.
So basically, what we found through our research is that the human species is still collectively traumatized by a very wild past. And when I speak about trauma, I'm speaking about notably intergenerational collective traumas. And those are within the collective fields. They activate our impulses below our level of awareness. And what we found is that these collective traumas are related particularly with three types of experiences. Experiences of hostility. We're speaking here about wars, invasions, genocides, experiences of scarcity, famines, severe deprivations, and experiences of rejection, marginalization, persecution, etc. And so these type of collective traumatic memories have shaped the dominant survival instinct. So basically on traumas of hostility, we have patterns of striving for domination and control. On traumas of scarcity.
The world today.
Sorry?
Majoritively the world today, COVID.
Yes, for example. So yeah, you can see it with COVID. On the traumas of scarcity, we have patterns of hoarding resources, competition for accumulation of resources. And on traumas of rejection, we have patterns of seeking for external validations. And what does that result in is that it results in vicious cycles. Because our patterns, for example, the response to the trauma of hostility leads to power struggles, conflicts, and perpetuates, therefore, hostility. The response to the trauma of scarcity leads to hoarding resources, inequalities, and depletion of resources, and therefore perpetuate the trauma of scarcity. And likewise, the response to the trauma of rejection, seeking for external validation, leads to marginalization of difference, and therefore perpetuate the threat of rejection. And so we are stuck into these patterns collectively, unconsciously, and to break free from it, one of the key is to work together to make our planet a safe space so that we can overcome our fear of one another and learn what we haven't learned yet is how to live in harmony together.
Amen.
Thank you,
Thank
you, Robert.
Little goosies. So like this is Bali people, like some phenomenal people working on some incredible projects. How to empower the future now. How to empower the future now. And you know, this is just 3 people. I'm going to get you to plug what you're doing in a minute, as in a way that people can reach you. But we've done 200. Out of those 200, okay, not all of them have got such a grandiose vision, but the majority have in all different areas: sustainability, environment, human conditioning. You know, what I love about what you have to say, though, is that, you know, this activation of this collective mindset that we carry around with us that gets triggered and activated by these things, just by knowing those 3 things is enough to start the process of collaboration. Because, you know, it's tough, you know, to say, hey man, Let's collaborate. I've got resources, wealth, time, all of that, you know. I know you're doing it tough. You can't put food on the table. You're under threat. But let's collaborate. Why not? I mean, like, how can you get there, right? It's a challenge, right? But through understanding this, then you begin to develop awareness, empathy, the practices and tools through the research that Ben's been doing with newworldtogether.com, right? Then gives you practical solutions, step by step, to start to unlearn, deprogram and reprogram our collective consciousness, which is, permission to swear, fucking phenomenal, right? It really is, right? I guess I don't need permission anyway, but it's phenomenal, right? So these are the things which I love to bring together and love to expose in a powerful, positive way. So, you know, like we're all here for something, people, right? And even Brett over here, we're looking at doing some stuff together. He's another amazing individual. And I'm sure you have a chat to him later on, blockchain, and working very closely with Unit Ventures and Michael and the guys. So again, but some phenomenal people here, man. And I love being in Bali and being able to lubricate some of these mechanisms. But now, does anyone else have a question? Otherwise, I would talk forever. Cool. Bhavna has a question. Great.
Hi. Okay, so this question is on a bit of a different tangent, probably a bit more of an emotional curiosity question. So we've heard the term impact a lot. I mean, literally, it's how you define yourself professionally. It's the work that you do, and you know, it's what you're about and what you've imparted on us. I'm curious because you, as mentioned before, you grew up in a developed environment, came to Bali, had to make that decision, you know, if it was the right place for you to raise a family, just given the opportunities, lack thereof, or different ones. I'm curious because they've now been here at a young age. Mm-hmm. This is all they really know day to day. What impact have they had on you? Because the way in which they're moving through life is slightly different. They're obviously influenced by you, but also about their environment. So being in an environment like Bali, what have they taught you?
What have my kids taught me growing up in Bali?
Yeah, just in terms of the way that they move through life here, it's something that maybe you wouldn't have experienced because you didn't grow up here. So I'm curious from that angle, what the kids have imparted to you.
Well, just as an insight, so a lot of times my kids leave the house with no shoes on, and that's perfectly okay. So it just shows the simplicity of life in Bali that kids remind you of. Yeah, the diversity of friendships that they have with both Balinese kids, Indonesian kids, and friends from all over the world. It's really taught me that we're all the same. Like regardless of where we're from, we're all human. And what else have they taught me? That just to enjoy life and have respect for local culture. I envy them a bit because they've got a pretty carefree life. Not entirely carefree. I mean, we have challenges. Even kids have challenges. But I guess what they've taught me is to enjoy the simplicity of life, to see the beauty and in nature. And also, a lot of things I do it, I guess, with the kids in mind in terms of, does this make sense? Can I explain what I'm doing to them? If I explain it to them, would it be setting an example? Is it something that if they understood, they would want to continue their flavor of that legacy in terms of positive impact or something entrepreneurial. So, they've taught me to think about things long term because, after I go, they'll be around, and maybe their kids will be around. So what are we doing? What's the long-term impact of what we're doing, in the business space, in the environmental space, in the community? So, yeah, they've definitely given me a more long-term view, a more holistic view about life, as opposed to be, instead of just being very inward, but also being very inclusive and open.
Two things come up. Firstly, the person you heard, Bhavna, is the one who's going to be in this seat. She's already been in this seat a number of times, and in the future will be in this seat more often. And Dayak coming up 2 weeks, November 29, just to let you know, live on camera. Just so you know, just keep that free because you're going to be here. So, Bali Children's Foundation, or Bali Children Foundation, run by an incredible Australian called Margaret Barry. Okay, so I was MC the other night for this incredible fundraiser that she was doing, because there's some things, an earthquake that happened here, and 2 schools were taken out of action, so these kids are not going to school. So it was about raising money and awareness of that. And she's, again, the oldest charity, probably one of the oldest charities in Bali, which actually does what it says it's going to do. Sounds kind of weird, like, isn't it obvious? But as we know, we're a bit older and wiser, right, watching this, that a lot of these charities get sucked up in administration fees, and it doesn't really get to where it's supposed to get to. But happily to say that these ones absolutely do, and that's why I was happy to be the MC and have a really good time. But we doubled the expectations, I think. But Bhavna, now the reason why I bring this up, I know she's like, I'll say, Bhavna, come up here. She's like, no, because she hasn't done her makeup properly. It's like, no, honey, you're beautiful as you are. Just come up here, come on. Tell us about the recent, because again, this is about people in Bali who call Bali home, what they've been up to, or what they've been supporting or facilitating, right? So are you able just to maybe let us know a recent project that was happening for you in about a minute or so?
Okay, I know exactly what you're putting me on the spot for right now.
Of course.
So I am, and actually Richard knows a little bit about this, I am part of a grassroots organization called Let Us Give Back that my friend Calvin McLeod, who is currently traveling, founded last year in an effort to, when the pandemic hit, and obviously, there are many people who didn't have access to jobs, food, et cetera, to kind of partner local farmers, get their produce directly in the hands of expats and cut out the fee and put the money directly in their pockets. Then fast forward this year, myself and my friend Jody Laddu, who's also traveling at the moment, we started working with a local champion named Tukik, who was a leader in his community, really just wanted to support the children in his village, and started just, providing them with school supplies because they didn't have access to remote learning, couldn't be in schools. And so we started going and just spending time with the kids and with him. And then this year, again, in the summer when the restrictions happened and they didn't have access, again, to even just driving around a car for tours, we're running into financial hardship. So we just banded together a group of friends and just through our personal network raised money to do food donations. And through his network of community leaders around Bali, he would identify the community. They would identify a list of individuals, of families who, if they couldn't work, they were the ones that we wanted to supply food to. And we would work with the village themselves to get the eggs, the rice, package the food, have them come, give it to them in their own bags, so you're cutting out the plastic. And then that took on a life of its own. And then through that process, we met a family earlier this summer, 2 siblings, 19 and 15, named Ika and Damai, who recently lost both parents, which was sad, of course, but more so we were struck by their potential. So the term I like to use is it's a story of potential, not pity. It's not the flies in the eyes of the kids that you see in World Vision projects. These are kids and families who want to do better, who want to be better, but they don't have the same access that maybe I had to financial support and emotional family support. So we identified that they, needed a safe home where they could, sleep at night, they could educate. They were still both, she was working in a laundromat. still 7 days a week to provide $50K for her and her brother. And so we thought if we can get them a proper home built, it's somewhere where she can sleep at night, educate herself, get her scholarship to university, lift herself out of the cycle of tourism that Bali has been privy to, and in doing so empower her community to get jobs in other sustainable areas. So we did that, and just again through amazing friends like Richard and others who really felt like our mission resonated, and very just grassroots, like it's just 3 of us doing this, raised money, and we built them a home in 5 weeks, which is kind of unheard of in Indonesia.
Built them a home in 5 weeks.
And
love that.
Yeah, and we're now going to start identifying the next family in need. So that's what we're doing. I didn't know we were going to be plugging this right now.
Yeah, well, hey, look, this is what it's about, man. There's nothing planned about Speak Up Monday. It's always in flow with whatever there is, because everything is exactly how it should be, right? And so we go with the energy of where it is. So I appreciate you for sharing as well. And look, just to close that one off, and then we'll, by the way, Adrian, we're coming back to you, brother. So the way that we begin to wind the show up is that, we go to our guest, which is you, and tonight, and we ask you to close it, meaning if there's anything that you'd like to reiterate or anything that comes into your mind that you haven't said that you think, you know what, I should say this, plug what you're doing, we give you that opportunity. So that's coming. I'll give you a little bit of time to think about that while I quickly do this one. So the reason why kids are important is that, so some of you know, but not all of you. So everyone has a story. My story is that I grew up for 18 years in 2 children's homes in London, from 6 months of age to 18 years of age, right? But people showed me love, right? People that you wouldn't even believe. 100 kids went through this orphanage. I was always the youngest one. I went through bullying, racism, sexism, you name it, right? Went through it pretty much. But what I realized was that unity is where it's at. What I realized was that I could be a bridge. I thought I was a white kid for the first 13 years of life because I was the only black kid at school. You'd go figure. I was like, really? That guy white? Come on. So, but it gave me a window into how people think. And because I could see both sides, then I was able to bring both sides, unite both sides together. And that's a mission I've always been on. That's why I do what I do, who I am. I managed to end up working with people like Madonna. I ended up having a business with 2 other partners, voted number 3 in the world, became a speaker, a coach, now obviously tourism architect, helping, connecting, facilitating this specific type of tourism that I've spoken about into Bali, and also exporting it. It's a brains trust, right? But what underpins it all is this facilitation. In other words, how do you do what Ben's doing, right? Highlight through being a coach. How do we able to reintegrate those dissociated parts of ourselves into one being holistically? It's the first thing. Then how do we inspire, right? So in other words, how do we, give that person, that entity, the understanding that they can be anything that they choose and commit to being. And number 3, connect, is about strategic partnerships. How do we connect those people together to create and execute projects that uplift humanity? Right, so this is the whole thing. This is how the whole thing comes together, and Speak Up Monday is part of that. Bali's part of that because Bali gave me the time to integrate these parts into a cohesive vision, and meeting some of the amazing people that we have done through the last 200 episodes. Phenomenal individuals at all ends of the spectrum, high, low, mid, and whatever you want to call it, then gives me that opportunity to connect with them, and in return connect those guys together with a network which I already built in Australia and Italy and other parts in Europe. So this is the undertaking that is before us, and this is why I love doing it, right? This is what helps us to come together to express this.
That's amazing, Robert. I think if you use, I guess, permaculture terminology, you've really created really fertile, grounds to now really start to see the shoots of your labor really start to sprout. And I want to be there to support you on that mission.
Amen.
I think we're on the same mission, so I think we're gonna see some amazing offshoots to some beautiful things.
And brother, just before we wrap up, so I just want to again acknowledge you, right? So as Adrian highlighted earlier on, like there's so many parallels. It's not funny, like meaning it's very funny. So Matilda, one person I really admire and respect highly, was a ringing, right? 1 week before, like 6 days before, it's like, hey Matilda, you're going to be there next week. What? You're kidding me, right? No. Same thing with Adrian. So I had a guest for this week already lined up, but then he wasn't able to do it, whichever reason. So then I was there thinking like, okay, who am I going to get? Then I realized, because I wasn't paying any attention, that it was number 200. Like, oh, great. Who am I going to get? And then it's funny because when you came last week, I was like, Adrian. And it just made perfect sense because not only are you like, the impact entrepreneur, the philanthropist, the person who has an amazing soul and heart that is palpable and visible for anyone who speaks to you for longer than 5 minutes. I thought, you know what? And you were there at the start of Speak Up Monday 3 years ago. Right, in Life in Bali, tomorrow gallery here in Brawa. Like I thought, man, what a perfect guest, right? Because you galvanize the best of what we can have as human beings in taking our knowledge and our background and our history, putting that together, knowing your gift and your contribution and how you can then contribute that to others in a way that uplifts and inspires them. So that's why you were the perfect guest for this week, man. And I appreciate you for being open, honest, and said yes.
Thank you, Robert. That's that's very flattering, and I'm not sure if I deserve that praise, but it's definitely set the bar for me. I'm going to make sure I do those words justice.
So over to you to close, brother. Is there anything that you like to close with? Anything that maybe you're reiterating something that you've said already? Maybe it's something new, that came in. Maybe it's something related to the title of today's Speak Up Monday. Maybe it's that. So whatever you're feeling, whatever's coming in, whatever. By the way, thank you, Mother Bali, of course. Thank you very much indeed. Whew. Whatever Mother Bali's giving you, brother, give it to us.
Yeah. You mentioned my wife earlier, and I'd just like to acknowledge her. I mean, I'm the one out, in the public view of the community doing what I do, but she's really the one, behind holding space and providing, being a rock, for people to call upon, and she does it quietly. She doesn't need any publicity about that. So I just want to acknowledge Lindsay. Keep doing what you do. Yep. Love you to the moon and back and beyond.
Listen, man, she's got 4 kids thanks to you. You need to love her not to the moon. You need to go further, my brother. You need to get to Pluto and back.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. So the title of my talk tonight was Here for Good, and as I mentioned, here for good doesn't mean necessarily that you're here permanently, and we can never predict what happens, but if you can't be here permanently, at least be here to do good. So here for good, there's 2 meanings to it, so I encourage everyone to have a think about that. So a couple of projects to plug. Actually, I want to acknowledge Robert again for the amazing work that he's done with, Speak Up Monday. That's really inspirational, doing it week in and week out. Thank you, Itchy and the Tropical Nomad guys for setting up the space. Thank you for the audience, the 200 plus we got tonight.
I think 2,000, mate. And by the way, when you come to Bali, make sure you come to Tropical Nomad. There's a few spots. Tropical Nomad, obviously Genesis, my brother George over there at Tomorrow Gallery. But there's a network. And what I love about Ichi, by the way, it's not all about Tropical Nomad, where we're on the same page of creating a network that supports Bali. Yep. Right, which is above and beyond what Tropical Nomad is doing, but Tropical Nomad is an integral part of it.
Yep. So yeah, well done to Itchy and what he's done here. So I want to plug at least 3 projects on the way. So Tropical Nomad is perched at the top of the famous Canggu shortcut. And that's another beautiful example of community action that's attracted attention from the local government, who unfortunately ran out of funding due to COVID. So they've lost, they're down on their tax revenue, and all their budget had to go towards COVID-related emergencies. So community came together, and I'm part of that team, spearheading the renovation of the famous Canggu shortcut to make it safer and smoother ride for you between Brawa and Canggu. And I see that as not just a bit of infrastructure, but also symbolic of connecting 2 communities and connecting the international community and the local community. So that's one project underway. Where how can people donate? We've got a website, so we're a third of the way towards our target, so we got still another 2/3 to go. Roadworks have already started, so we have faith in the community and in Mama Bali that the other 2/3 will arrive. So we've already started the renovations. You can find out more at shortcutcanggu.com. So you can find out about the project. You can find out how to donate. We're going to be accepting bank transfers. We're plugging in, a cryptocurrency payment gateway. We're trying to make it as easy as possible. And if you want to donate in cash, you can find some locations around Canggu and Brawa cafes that have donation boxes. So every bit helps. And we're aiming to, by Christmas, to have a shortcut as our gift to the community that's safe. It's going to have solar-powered lighting. It's probably going to be the best road in Canggu, or if not Bali, community action project. So yeah, really proud about that project. The other project I'm working on, working with my partners Mike and Hedda on a platform called Plango, and that's the partnership platform to connect change makers and sources of funding. So you can find out more about that project at it's hard to spell, so I'll tell you what it is anyway. It's petricalplanet.com, and I will post the information on the recording of this.
Make it easy for people, man.
Yeah.
So Petrical, yeah. Petrical as in P-E-T-R, Petric, I-C-A-L?
P-E-T-R-I-C-H-O-R, and Petrical basically means that fresh fragrance you get when you get fresh rain on the ground, especially on on natural ground. That smell that you get, that's petrichor.
Great, petrichor. Okay.
That's right. And the last project I'm plugging as a reminder is the online World Bali Conference to promote the amazing things happening in Bali today and building a platform for the future of Bali. So so you can find out more about that at Unit Conference, and again I'll send out the link with this recording. So inviting speakers and attendees to come along on the 1st of December. It's free, it's online, so no excuse not to join and support the future of Bali.
And how do people get in touch with you? Because people now have a great sense of you, great sense of your heart, your vision, your soul, where you see things going. So if people want to hire, want to look after, want to find, want to work with Adrian Keet, how do they find you?
Yeah, I've got a website. It's called lightatwork.org. Lightatwork, one word.org. So it means, shining a light on your work so you can see clearly the path, and also bringing your good work to light. So lightatwork.org, that's where you can find me.
Love it. Yeah. I mean, look, closing up finally, I just want to thank, I'm talking to now the 200 speakers or people, human beings that have come before. And when it comes to 250, I'm going to be calling on all of you. This one, I let you off the hook. But the next one, I'm coming for all of you. And I know you're going to say yes, because we need to empower the future now. And that happens through people inspire people, which is what you see just above here on the screen. People inspire people and Destination Indonesia, right? And unity and diversity at the bottom over here, right? That's really the three things that epitomize what we're doing while we're here and why you're important. And finally, to everyone who's watching, right, if this has stoked a fire or reminded you of something that you know you should be doing but you're not, get to it. If you feel a pull to connect with, it might be Richard, right? Rich Flicks. It might be Benjamin, New World Together. It might be our brother Adrian here. It might be Itchy over here at Tropical Nomad. Might be Bhavna if you can find her. But you can find her through us. It's all good, right? Connect with them. You know, like, you're here for a reason. You're watching this. There's no coincidence that you're here. There's a reason why you're here. Make the most of that reason. Don't let it pass you by. Lots of love. See you on 201 next week. Bye for now. Thank you, everybody.